So real quick before the lesson, actually, you can actually see the video. We had some issues with my SD cards. They were only 1 gigabyte and didn't record everything. So I went later after the actual lesson, I went through some things. Sorry about that. Enjoy. Alright, so we're good? Alright. So you watched the movie, right? Snow White? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the differences between Disney movies and their real stories. So, what do you remember, like, what are the main parts about Snow White?
7 dwarfs. Isn't it called Snow White and the 7 dwarfs in the Disney version?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 7 dwarfs, the goopy one is always really funny.
Yeah.
Dopey, I think that's his name.
Dopey. Yep.
Dopey.
Mm-hmm.
I never can pronounce those names. The dwarfs names are except for the Sleepy, Sneaky, Doke. I cannot pronounce it very well though. Yeah.
So what else do you remember about the story?
The evil queen transforms herself into an old hag.
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes up with the apple.
Mm-hmm.
And then she takes a bite and then she falls into the deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has to go, and then the animals get the dwarfs and they bring them over, and then they chase after the old hag, and then she tries to pry a rock down on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then lightning strikes the rod that she was using, and then the rock starts tipping her way.
Mm-hmm.
She gets scared, so she starts stepping backwards, not realizing that she's on top of a cliff and fell off the edge.
Yeah. So how did Snow White wake up from her
The prince
sleep?
kissed her.
The magical kiss, right? All right. So, the real story.
Who is the author of the real story?
Well, that's the thing. So there were 2 brothers. They're the Grimm's brothers. Have you heard about them?
Actually, I have this book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Whatever After. And so, it's about this girl and her brother, and they go and they have a magical mirror, and it transforms them into fairy tales. One of them is Snow White, and then she's like, they tell Snow White the story, and then and they stop her from eating the apple, and then they ruin the story, and then they have to fix the story, and then like from in front of it, she tells Snow White in the future, and then she has a brother, and his name is Jonah, and then he says, and then she kisses her, and then the prince kisses her to wake up. And the older sister says, no, he takes the prince. That's in the Disney. In the original, which is written by the Grimm brothers, she takes Snow White, and it's so beautiful that she puts him on a horse, and then the poison apple thingies fall out of her mouth, and then she comes back alive.
Yeah, so you already know half the story. Good job.
Yeah.
So the Grimm's brothers, they didn't actually write it. They collected them. So they're 2 German brothers that went throughout the country, and they collected just folklore, fairy tales that were normally just told by word of mouth, and then they wrote them down. And so Snow White. Do you want to hear the real story? Okay. So what happened? Okay, so the mirror on the wall thing is normal throughout the story, and the witch or the queen wants to kill her. But in the Disney one, what does she ask the huntsman to take from Snow White?
Her heart.
Yeah. So in the Grimm story, she wants the lung and the liver, and kind of gross. And and then when the huntsman brings back the animals, lung and liver, she doesn't know that. She thinks it's Snow White's, remember? And the queen asks the cook to cook it up so she can eat it. It's kind of gross. But let's see. And so then Snow White travels throughout the forest trying to find help, and she's scared, right? And then she finds the dwarves' house, and she falls asleep, and they're like, well, if you stay here and cook and clean for us, we'll let you stay here. And they warned her every day they left. They warned her, don't let anyone in the house, right? And so what happened in the Grimm story was there was actually which part? That she came 3 times?
She was 3 times. The first time she was like with the comb kind of thing.
Yep. Do you remember what the second one was?
The dwarfs, but the dwarfs come home and they take the comb out before and then I can't remember the other one though. Wasn't it like a feather?
No, it was a corset. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah, and she has to wrap her up. Yeah, with what?
It's a corset. You put it around.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's so girls can look skinnier, and you tighten it. And so the witch or the queen, she tightens it so tight that she can't breathe. And then the dwarves come find her again, and they're like, "Oh, take this off. It's too tight." And then the second one or the third one is the apple, which you were talking about, where it was just still stuck in her throat. It was poisoned, but it was stuck in her throat, and that's what kept poisoning her. So,
Because she couldn't digest it.
I'm not sure. I think it was just stuck, like it just stayed there, and that's what the poison was meant to do, was just stay there.
And then when she got off from the horse, it fell out, and then she came back alive.
Yep. And so, let's see. Oh, also in the Disney movie, the queen turns herself and she uses magic and everything, right?
Yeah.
In the Grimm's fairy tale, she just dresses up, she'll put makeup on and dressed up like an old lady instead of magical powers, which is kind of cool because it makes it more kind of believable than magic.
Yeah, I like believable. But things we don't like to love. The thing about the Grimm brothers, they kind of put gross things in their stories.
Yep, and we're about to get there because it's kind of... Yep. So, the prince really liked Snow White, and that's why he took the casket and it fell, remember, in the story? And then the apple came out of her mouth and she was back to herself. So they got married and they invited the queen to their party. And she was like, okay, I'll go. But this is the gross part, they made her wear
burning hot shoes sometimes until she dies.
Yep. So you already know this story.
I know some of it.
Yeah.
Because I read it from my book. And there's another one with Cinderella though.
Yeah, Cinderella's kind of grosser.
Yeah, because they get steps just to cut off their toes.
Yep.
And ankles to fit the slippers.
Yep. It's really gross. And then blood. Yep. So I wanted to ask you though, why do you think Disney changed it from the original gross kind of Grimm stories to just their Disney word?
For younger kids.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Because most movies are for older kids. They want to make some younger, middle-aged kids. Because there's baby stories to talk to them do you know what to do? And then there's older kid stories that are more gross.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they kind of wanted to make it middle-aged in that one. Or younger. One that everyone could watch.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So for the next part of the lesson, I wanted to have you teach Charity about Snow White. Do you think she already knows the real story?
I don't think she does.
Okay. So what we're...
She's read my book.
Maybe she might have, but so we're gonna have you teach her about the real story and about why they changed. So we're gonna use PowerPoint, and we're gonna.
One time I had to use some of these, and I had never done it.
Let's scoot back a little bit. Alrighty then. Alright. So, you know how to use PowerPoint?
Yeah, we have this at our house.
That's good. Sweet.
It's called we did keyboard chatter in 2nd grade.
That too. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So, I think let's do a title slide and then we'll do like a comparison slide with the original Snow White and then the Grimm story, and then another slide that shows why they fixed it, if that's all right. So, do you want to add a title? What should we name it?
Well, what are we doing first?
The title page, or like the first, for the slideshow, the first thing.
Yeah.
So, we'll name, should we just name it Snow White?
Yeah.
Okay, so just click on it with this right here. It should, no, I guess not, hold on. It's been a while since I've used this. Why is it not working? There we go, okay. Just being slow. Alright. So, if you want, you can set it on your lap if it makes it easier.
Okay, I'm okay with like this.
Okay. Alright. So after we go through everything, we can make it pretty and everything, if that's alright. So then for a new slide, you click this, and then you can choose whichever one you want. And since we're doing a comparison, let's try this one right here. So that way we can show both at the same time. There you go. So we're comparing Disney and Grimm, right? So let's put that. We'll put Disney in this one right here. It should just click this. Okay, there we go. How do I spell Disney?
I think it's D-I-S-S.
Alright, so just as a follow-up to my video for teaching, I thought I'd just go over a few things that I noticed while teaching Mariah. I don't think I created enough disequilibrium for her in the lesson. I wish I could go back and try different things, but can't. I had her zone of proximal development wrong also. She already knew parts of the Grimm's actual story, which I didn't know that, and it would have been nice to know kind of where she was at beforehand, but we didn't get to really talk to them before we started teaching. So it's whatever. I thought it was kind of cool. My lesson had to do with interference all throughout Disney. Disney with the real stories creates a lot of interference, and that was kind of cool to go over with her. I think I failed to create situational interest. Probably because it was a little away from her zone of proximal development. A few things I did know with her, with the computer, when we used the computer, she still hunts and types for the correct letter, which I thought was kind of cute. I haven't seen that in a while. But that also probably had some interference. I have Rosetta Stone letters on my keyboard too for my German, so that might have confused her a little bit, probably like which one's the right one. So using the computer might have also been out of her zone, and her although I was going to use Prezi presentations rather than PowerPoint, so it's a good thing I used PowerPoint, because the Prezi is even a little over me because I haven't used it as much as I have PowerPoint. So, well, that's just a few things I noticed in my lesson. I learned a lot with this lesson. It was different because I've taught Relief Society before, and just teaching someone younger than me was a lot different. And if I could go back, I probably would change a few things, probably make it a lot more interesting and adding a few things. But yeah, so it was fun.